Good afternoon, everyone. And again, welcome for this free webinar, which is essentially designed for all of you who are in the food sector and not necessarily just in the manufacturing industry, but in all of its stakeholder entity. So basically, I'm going to be talking about the start of your journey on continual improvement in the food industry. And like to what you have seen, perhaps in all of the communiques that were sent to you by my BSI colleagues, in today's business world, there is an estimated 50% to 80% of the cost of manufactured product. And that is in the purchase materials or outsourcing to suppliers. And that's basically the first point that I would like to start in here. So basically that's with regard to quality. And to begin with, there are some number of food poisoning outbreaks, which has led us to essentially, to be better in what we're doing. And then these are some of it, just to name a few. If you can relate to some of these or most of these have impacted not just our ecosystem, but also lives, right? So there are 14 deaths, 9 deaths, 33 deaths, hepatitis A outbreak, and E. coli, and in South Africa, listeria has impacted greater than 180 deaths. And within the Asia Pacific region, we have got these contaminations in our strawberries, basically. So again, the bottom line here is that we are not just taking these for granted, as if you haven't had enough of what I'm sharing right now. There are also quite a number of recalls. Okay, and I'm just presenting some of the numbers here. So the number of recalls due to foreign matter has been up and about over the past 10 years. Categories for other chemical contaminant, particulate contaminant, and even tampering are consistently, impacting our supply chain. And when it comes to supply chain, the biggest question that we have to ask is, why are we falling behind schedule, right? So this is how our food supply chain looks like. And of course, it all depends on your current ecosystem. You might just be at the food service, but guess what? Your supplies are coming from a storage facility, and your delivered products and or service will go to your direct customers and or consumers. And of course, if you are in manufacturing, in food preparation, you are directly impacted by the primary ingredient manufacturing. If you are the primary ingredient manufacturing, you are directly impacted by farming. And of course, it's a circle, basically, right? So those are major drivers with regard to our operational concerns. As if you haven't had enough, we will still look into, you might have some pursuit of excellence, your operational excellence, your process improvement or continuous improvement. You might have those undertakings. So how do we get back on track? Another is, why aren't improvement methods giving the benefits or results that you have expected? So and those are our drivers, those are our triggers, okay, which will lead us to benchmarking from these organizations. So there is a commonality among these organizations, and I suppose most, if not all of you, know where I'm headed at. So these organizations, GE, DuPont, Honeywell, Dow Chemicals, even not in this industry, even the Marine Corps of the United States. And right about our alley, Nestle, Mondelez International, Kraft Foods, what do they have in common? They have Lean Six Sigma. And I will expound that in a deeper dive later. And of course, as we conclude this webinar, I will be sharing to you what have they been doing in relation to undertaking Lean Six Sigma. Okay, so let us have just a brief backgrounder on what has been the excellent results of these organizations. To begin with, Motorola. So this is a bit of a busy slide, and basically the main idea here is that the company, the main idea that I would be sharing that I'd like to share to you is that the company implemented Six Sigma to assess the impact on improving product quality, and essentially, the positive results created better company-wide performance, and that has been adopted by GE themselves. And up to date, GE has been implementing Lean Six Sigma. Yes, definitely, this is a busy slide, but I am not shortchanging you to what are currently happening, okay, in the contemporary world. So as you can see there, a recent study conducted in GE basically showed positive improvements, okay, in all of the endeavors of GE. What about the other companies? 3M. 3M is part of this industry, right? And 3M has been involved, to say the least. They have been one of the strong advocates of Lean Six Sigma. Okay, so according to Gunther, last 2010, the improvement method, which was assumed to drive productivity, somehow interrupted. However, their management was eventually able to streamline the company's operation using Six Sigma. But the scientists and engineers thought that the management technique was hard to implement, as invention should not be scheduled. So, I mean, with that, they were able to revolutionize basically in other aspects of the organizations, and it has given them, to say the least, some positive changes. What about the other results? So in Honeywell, so I suppose some of you have had partnerships with Honeywell as being your suppliers of your equipment, sensors perhaps, or peripherals of your equipment. So Six Sigma Plus was a system that has brought positive changes to the company. So the system centers on project improvement method, the Remake process, which I will be expounding in greater length later. And I mean, just to give you the current state. So just to go into the details of the inception of Six Sigma and Lean, let me run this through you on what has prompted these organizations to adopt Six Sigma. To begin with, would be, of course, the driver of these improvement methodologies, Lean and Six Sigma. So the basic driver is that they no longer want to react to any issues or perhaps customer complaints that they might have. So they've said that gone must be the days that we will just be reacting according to what we will be presented of by the ecosystem, right? By the business ecosystem. So, but we're not saying that we will no longer do quality checks. That is always there. We are gonna inspect and take the defectives out of what is produced. But in addition to that, we're gonna do proactive quality, and that is by creating processes that will produce less or even no defects. So that's the main goal. Hence, when Motorola was experiencing this in the 80s, a certain engineer, Bill Smith, has coined the term Six Sigma. And again, I will be expounding why did he coin both of these terms, Six and Sigma. For some of you, you might have, you know, that would be what a way to welcome you if you are sort of not particular about statistics or maths, right? So saying that it might be difficult because it has numbers, it has the term sigma. I don't even know about that. It's just basically a brand name. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I will be expounding on that. So he was the one who coined that term, and the main point is that they have experimented on problem solving through statistical analysis. And again, that was the point that they told themselves that enough is enough. We don't want to waste our resources anymore through trial and errors. We want to make it better. Okay? And with that, they had a success basically. Okay, oops. So I cannot go back to it, but basically they had a success in relation to its implementation, and they were eventually awarded the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award. And with that, their methodology became an open source, and it was benchmarked by this person. Okay, he is Jack Welch. He was the former CEO and chairman of GE. And he was the one who launched Six Sigma in the mid to late 90s as part of the management development program. In fact, he was the one who suggested to implement levels of competence among the management team. Okay, and as soon as that was institutionalized, they were able to perfect the way of work in Six Sigma. So as early as now, I'd like to debunk one of the stereotypes or misconceptions about Six Sigma. Six Sigma is not just a tool. It is a way of work. Way of working meaning it is your, it is part of the culture. It is part of your management system. Okay, so I suppose most, if not all of you are familiar with management system. It is really the way you do your business, right? So the growth of Six Sigma, again, flourished from that practice that GE has embedded it as part of their management promotions. So hence the terms green belts, black belts. So we are called as belts, not belters, because that's the difference between us, the process improvement professionals, with the martial arts experts. So belts are really persons involved in undertaking different responsibilities within the Lean Six Sigma organizational chart. So I'm going to be sharing that in a little while as well. Okay, so that's the growth. So let us talk about now what is this Six Sigma. So indeed, you might wonder, it might be complicated. And as you can see here on this first slide about Six Sigma, it is a methodology for continuous improvement. Methodology requires that we embed these tools, because there are a number of tools, of course, to be used relative to the nature of the problem. And those tools must be a club to the faces of the process improvement project way of work in Six Sigma. And that's what we call the remake methodology. So really, it is a methodology. It is a way of work. Okay, so what else? Six Sigma is also a methodology for creating products and or processes that perform at high standards. So again, you might be wondering, with all of these, precursors behind the way of work, what does it involve? That it must produce, processes and products that are performing at high standards. So I'll be sharing that to you in a little while. So again, it's a methodology. So you haven't seen here that it is just a tool, okay? So it is a methodology. So when we speak of methodology, there are set of tools that will be used relative to the nature of the problem or the process problem. What else is Six Sigma? It is a set of statistical and other quality tools. So set, not just a tool. So when I speak of tool, we're talking about just one tool, right? When you say Six Sigma is a tool. So I hope I've debunked that already, that Six Sigma is not a tool, but it is a set of statistical and other quality tools. So what else? Six Sigma is a way of knowing where you are and where you could be. Okay, so again, I will demystify all of those answers to that question, what is Six Sigma? And the last but not the least, it is a quality philosophy and a management technique or system, which is really a way of work. So I've talked about what it is. So now I will be talking about what it is not. So Six Sigma is not a management system standard likened to ISO management system standards, such as ISO 9001:2015 for quality management system standards, and ISO 14001:2016, which is the environmental management system standard. It is not a standard. Okay, again, it is a way of work. What else? Six Sigma is not another metric or KPI. Okay, I will expound on that later. What do I mean by not another metric? Although there are metrics involved in relation to Six Sigma. So what else is it? What is it really about if we're talking about, Six Sigma? So again, we have got these terms, Six and Sigma. Where did we get that from? Right, so we will start with the symbol. Okay, so that's the symbol, Sigma. So it's a Greek letter, or it's a Greek letter in the Greek alphabet. Mathematicians, such as myself, part-time, use this symbol to signify standard deviation. So it is an important measure of variation. And variation, when we talk about variation, it designates the distribution or spread about a certain average in the process. So again, this Sigma symbol is signifying standard deviation. So now, I don't want to bore you with these maths terms, but again, just to give you a little bit of a heads up. So as you can see there, as a value, Six Sigma or Sigma per se is a measure of deviation. So the mathematical calculation for basically the deviation would be these numbers. Okay, so these those symbols. You don't need to memorize all of those, but basically what we're after is that in a certain process there will be different or varying measures. Say you have got basically a room full of say male students. Okay, so if you took the height of everyone in that class, so you would expect a variation, because obviously even twins would have different heights, right? So it would have a certain distribution, such as this one perhaps. Okay, but if you included some professional basketball players in there, there will be like one or a couple of them who would have a higher height than the other. So that would mean a bigger variation with regard to that, heights in a certain class, perhaps. So that basically this line, this red-orange line, signifies that there's a big variation, as opposed to this blue line, which signifies that there isn't that much of a variation, but still there is a variation. There are people who might be shorter than most of the males inside that room, and there are also students who are higher than the average. Okay, so this usually, if it's this kind of distribution, this usually signifies the mean or the average in that certain room. So our intention really is to have a certain distribution vis-a-vis a specification limit that will fit in a certain nearness measure, okay, to that of the mean. So if this is your specification limit, say we're talking about weight or fill weight, perhaps. So you have got your upper specification limit and a lower specification limit. You would want, in a Six Sigma process, you would want as much as possible, the bigger, distribution would still be fitting within that specification limit. And that is what we meant by the sigma level definition. So that is one of the measures in Six Sigma. How many standard deviations can I fit from the midpoint of the distribution to the nearest specification limit? That is the idea. So what's in it for us if we have got a six process sigma level? So as you can see here, at the ideal or the world-class benchmarks, if we are at 6 process sigma level, we are yielding about 99.99987. Okay, about 3.4 defects per million opportunity, or in some other terms, parts per million opportunity. So in Minitab, if you've been using Minitab, that PPMO is signifying defects per million opportunity. There are quite a number of jargons in Six Sigma, and that's the thing behind training in Six Sigma, is to make you aware of these jargons. But I will not be have a deep dive on that, because this is not a training. This is just a 1-hour webinar. So again, the bottom line here is that we would want to move our process, okay, to have not just at the average 97% good. I suppose most, if not all of you, are aiming even higher than that, right? If you're at the 99.9%, or even the 99.4%, how good would that be? That's the next question that we need to answer. How good would that be? So you might say, we are at 99.9% good. That must be good already. But in reality, we're talking about defects here, not the defective product. So we have to understand that in a product, there will be some defects that would make it defective. Say this pen. This pen has got plenty of test or inspection requirements. Okay, so this pen must write. Right? If it is not writing, then therefore this pen is defective, caused by a defect that is not writing. Basically, there will be other defects with regard to this pen. So since this pen is spring loaded, then the spring must be working. Otherwise, if it is a defect, meaning that that spring is not working, therefore this is a defective pen. So we're not talking about defectives here. We're talking about defects, which are the causes of a product or a service being defective. So what does it mean to be at Six Sigma process? Okay, so let's compare it to a 99.9% good. A 99.9% good must not be good enough if we're talking about unsafe drinking water. Every month you are risking an hour of unsafe drinking water. If you are at Six Sigma good, which is, you're fitting in 6 standard deviation from the median to the next, to the nearest specification limit, to whether it's the upper specification or the lower specification limit, that would just be 1 minute of unsafe drinking water every 7 months. What about in this industry, which is in surgery? Okay, so a 99.9% good is not good enough because it will involve 500 incorrect surgical operations per week. And mind you, it is happening. But at Six Sigma, it is at 99.9996% good, which is equivalent to 1.7 incorrect surgical operations per week. So you might argue, so it is still not perfect. But guess what? That's the reason why it will be clubbed with lean, which is basically looking after some interventions that would lead to 0 defects. Okay, but we will not be talking about in that deep dive basically. But I will go back to that argument. So it is not yet that perfect. But guess what? We're talking about not the final product, but we are talking about the cause or causes of what might lead to having a defective product. Okay, so and that's also the reason why, within the Six Sigma methodology, there is that iteration in the process. Iteration meaning this must be continuously done to the point that we are ensuring that a previous flawed process will never recur. Okay, so that's Six Sigma. So okay, in the airline industry, they're not even after Six Sigma, they're after 7 Sigma, basically 1 defect per million opportunity. So I've got quite a number of examples here. I'll just skip those. So again, the message here is basically we will be aiming for an iterative process that would lead us to reduce variation, because technically you cannot reduce variation. Okay, you cannot reduce variation. You can eliminate defects, you can eliminate the wastes, but you cannot eliminate variation. That is meant to happen. Okay, so let's have a bit of a poll here. So likened to what was mentioned by Shujin later, we will entertain some of your questions because we are just bounded by an hour of this webinar. So let me engage you in a quick poll so as to check whether you will retain some of the thoughts that I will be sharing to you. So what is Six Sigma? So just choose among these 4 questions, and I'm launching a poll now. Okay, so the poll is now open, so kindly just click your choice. Ten seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you for participating. I'm going to be closing the poll now and share to you the output. Okay, so 60% or 64% of you said that it's a way of work. 14% or 17% of you said that it's a metric, while 14% of you said that it's a management system standard. Okay, so the correct answer here is, congratulations to the majority, it's a way of working. Okay, so it's not a certification, it's not a metric, it's not a management system standard. Okay, so let me just close the poll now and go back to my presentation. Okay, so let me just go back. to it. So let's now go to the details of what is lean. Okay. Oops. Okay. So let's have an overview of what lean is about. Because Lean Six Sigma is obviously a marriage of these two methodologies. They are two concurrent way of work, which were married or hybridized into this methodology. So lean methodology is or was discovered, institutionalized in Toyota by Dr. Taichi Ono. And the main point is for them to eliminate muda, or what we call as waste. Okay, so in their local language, muda is anything that doesn't add any value, hence it is a waste. So the methodology revolves around having to consume fewer resources that will lead to greater productivity and lowering the cost as well, and shorter cycle time and higher quality as well. So let's have a revisit of what was the inspiration behind lean, basically. So lean was inspired, so to speak, by the Toyota production system. There's been a number of debates, even forum, and also books that has classified the difference between the two. But essentially, it is very similar with each other. So the Toyota production system advocates basically on the removal of waste and inefficiency, and that's muda. And anything that is muda must be removed. And Kanban is a manual system that signals the need for parts or materials. So in fact, in your day-to-day activity, you will have and you must have a form of Kanban in your company, in your home, and even in the fast food chain that you are visiting. There are some forms of Kanban. Just to be very simplistic about Kanban. Kanban is basically giving you visual cues in replenishing, okay, a certain part or a product. Say in McDonald's, their Kanban now has moved to the electronic Kanban. It used to be a burger regulator. It's like a metal slide that would signify to the team behind the counter that I have got only 3 cheeseburgers left. And that's basically prompting also the production crew to produce more cheeseburger because they will be maintaining about 5 cheeseburger in that burger regulator. And if you're familiar with some local fast food chains, these are already present across the world, not just here in the Philippines. In Jollibee, they have got that still in Jollibee restaurants. But in McDonald's, they don't have it anymore. They are into just in time, basically. They don't have any burgers in a certain, metal slides. What they have is basically, they will produce as it was ordered only. So they will just look into their screen, and they are prompted, but by what was ordered through the POS, and they will just assemble it just in time. Basically, Toyota production system is about that, just in time. There are quite a number of Nihongo terms here, such as Heijunka, which is workload leveling, Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. Transliterating this is about, change good, but it has been adopted as a management way of work, which is about continuous improvement. Jidoka is about quality at the source, which is basically the quality to be performed by workers. Pokayoki, which means mistake proofing, it is safeguarding the process to reduce errors. The team concept, in other words, it is about the QC circles, okay, or the quality control system circle, and then of course the pull system, which is basically replacing materials or parts based on demand, which is what I have just mentioned with regard to just in time. So basically, those are the key inspirations behind Lean. Just to give you some fun facts, the term Lean came from an American who has got a privilege to visiting the Toyota Motor Car Company facilities, and eventually when he went back to the United States, he was able to present this as a way of work that would eventually eliminate all of their factory wastes, all if not most, if not all of their factory wastes. So he was Jim Womack, basically. So he created the book, the Machine That Changed the World, which eventually led to another book or sets of books, which institutionalized or coined that term Lean, basically. So what are the ultimate goals of Lean methodology? It requires for eliminating wastes. Initially, these wastes were just revolving around the 7 wastes, but it has already evolved to 8 wastes. So Team Wood, if you can see the main first letters there, but it has included already an S, which is an underutilized skill, basically. So eliminating those wastes. Eliminating disruptions would be another. So poor quality would disrupt the process. Equipment breakdown would disrupt the process. Changes to the schedule would disrupt the process, and so on. Another ultimate goal of Lean methodology is making a flexible system. Okay, so making a flexible system means that we are not just producing one product the whole day. Okay, so it must have a good mix of product. And hence, likened to what I have given as an example in McDonald's, you cannot see a McDonald's restaurant who are just selling Big Macs, right, or cheeseburger. They have got plenty of products, and those products are mixed, within the time that the restaurant is opened, and they can produce that within a certain time, from the time it was ordered to the time it was given or presented to the customer. So those are the goals of Lean. What about its successful conversion? Its successful conversion requires management buy-in, and that's a must. And from there, we can eventually study the operations. We can obtain support and cooperation of co-workers. Then eventually we can reduce setup time. Then gradually convert operations to have that quick setup time. If there are industrial engineers here, you can vouch with this that quick changeover is a must in any organizations, not just in factory. Guess what? Even in hospitality management, it is a must. Okay. And of course, last but not the least, to prepare to encounter obstacles. And what are the most likely obstacles in relation to converting to Lean? Likened to what I have already presented, management commitment would be an obstacle also. If it's not working for you, it will be working against you. So that would be one of the things that we need to address. And of course, the others, change of culture, resistance of suppliers, and even the cooperative spirit of the workers. So I'll just forgo that poll for now. I'll just go quickly to the organization in the interest of time. So usually the Lean Six Sigma organization would look like this. So it is composed of the site champions and the deployment champions, and there must be at least one master black belt who is the technical expert. And these are the teams led by either the black belt or the green belt. So what are the requirements for each of these roles? So for site champion, and these are the executive team, they must be aligned to the strategies and they set the vision for the Lean Six Sigma undertakings. Their responsibilities, which is of course part of their job description, is to identify champions, monthly review of projects, and measure the champions' results. Qualification is that they must be at the top management because they will drive uh, the realization of the question, what's in it for me? And below them would be the deployment champion. And these are the team in the senior management. And at least they have attended a Lean Six Sigma champion training. They communicate the vision to the organization through the process improvement project leader or leaders, and they will be identifying these persons involved in leading the projects. So who are the leaders? The black belts and the green belts. I mean, to be honest, in reality, the champions may or may not be certified belts, but there are cases whereby they will be going through the certification. For one, they need to understand how the methodology works. Number two, this is a competence that is a cut above the rest, basically. So how do these people gain their competence? So their functions would be for process improvement, basically, and we cannot not have process improvement. We must have this because this is part of our way of work. Otherwise, we're just leaving it up to chance, it being the fall of our organization, either through customer complaints or an overtaking by our competitors, right? So 100% of the time, a black belt uses the Remake methodology, which I will be expounding later, and reports the progress to the champion and works with the master black belt. And the qualifications is that for black belts, for those who haven't got any idea whatsoever on how and why and what Remake is about, then they have to go through the training. Otherwise, they may be qualified to go straight to a black belt training if they are in these levels in their organizations. Why is that? Because they have been leading, whether they like it or not, they've been leading process improvement projects. Unless otherwise, process improvement is not a thing in the organization, which I doubt. It must be there, it must be embedded. So what about the master black belt? The master black belt's functions include providing technical expertise and training, and working in support of the black belt or champion, and assist in education and training activities. The responsibilities 100% of the time, like unto myself, is I'm working daily with team members, with black belts, with champions. I'm reviewing, monitoring projects. I'm giving coaching sessions to these process improvement leaders. The qualifications are as follows. I need not go about that. Okay, and what about the team members? These are, if you have heard about these in the market, they are the ones called as the yellow belt and the white belts. Okay, so for the rest of the organization, white belts have attended the Lean Six Sigma awareness training or white belt course. And while the yellow belt will have about 2 days training, because they will be exposed to some of the tools that they need to understand, at least understand. Okay. So what's the Remake process? Very quickly. Okay, the Remake process is really a logical and structured approach to problem solving and process improvement. This is the lifeblood, basically, of Lean Six Sigma, because it's an iterative process. And if it wants to go out, it's a quality tool with focus on change management. So we cannot not but be change managers as well. Okay, so again, Lean Six Sigma is not just about tools, it's not just about maths and whatnot. It involves also change management. So this is the roadmap. Okay, so we have got to go through these. These are involving dependencies. So you cannot measure without defining first what drives that organization to look into that process. We cannot analyze those that we have not measured, and so on. So that's the Remake methodology. So to give you a practical application of the Remake roadmap, let me share to you an example which must be common across all of your verticals, whether you are in the manufacturing side, in the food industry ecosystem, or in the supplier side. You must have, or you will have, distribution, or you will have deliveries, right? So a remake process is defined phase is asking us to have a practical problem. And a practical problem by definition is generally a systemic or chronic problem, which impacts the success of a process or a function. And an example of that is this one. Packages always arrive late. So that was the voice of the customer. Okay. There is one jargon, so you can see here CTQ, that's critical to quality. Take note, quality is the quality's bottom line is to satisfy the customer, basically. So their satisfaction would be if the delivery would be consistent. Okay, the on-time delivery would be consistent. So that is what prompted them to look into this practical problem and make this as a project. Okay, so a project is a temporary endeavor. Basically, it has a start and it has an end. And why do we have to make this as a project? Basically, let me just go back to the definition. A project is a well-defined effort that states the problem and output expectations in quantifiable terms. So when they talk about packages arriving late, so how late would that be and what's the impact? So take note, projects must be aligned to the strategic goals of the organization, right? So for them to invest resources in this project, they have got to answer the question, what's in it for me? So their answers to that question is that because of the unpredictable package delivery, it has caused them extra work and frustration for the customers. The company also pays over $1.6 million by just expediting, okay? And also the late fees annually. And it was estimated to have 10 to 20% increase in market share if the issue is improved. And their goal, and that makes it a project, their goal is to have a 10 times reduction in customer-defined defects, which are basically the late deliveries. So let's proceed to the Remake roadmap. Okay, so it must be converted to statistical problem because we must move from the I think or I believe. It must be data-oriented problem that will be addressed via this project. As opposed to the I think or I believe, it must be supported with facts and data analysis. Likened to the doctor telling you that, hey, we have got a problem because I can see that your cholesterol level is at this level. Comparing it to the upper level of the cholesterol for your age, you are over that, and that would mean so and so. So likened to that. A doctor will not say, I think you have got a high cholesterol level, so therefore you drink this. Okay, never in our wildest imagination we can have that kind of doctor, right? So basically for their case, again, they did not just pick this out of the thin air to say that 38% of the packages arrive past target delivery date, because they have gone through the retrospective data and capture all of those information that would substantiate their claim that, hey, this is something that must be addressed, so that, okay, so that these are the answers to that, so that. So moving forward, okay, so the statistical problem must be the springboard towards the measure and analyze phase, which would yield the statistical solution. Okay, so what is a statistical solution? So as I've said, as opposed to the I think, I believe, that solution is like that also. You must veer away from the I think or I believe. It must be data driven with known confidence or risk levels. So these are the measure. I don't want to bore you with those data. Of course, that is something that you may look forward to, that you will be guided by our SMEs across the BSI globe, that we will teach you how uh, digest that basically. So the package delivery optimization yielded that at current state, their package delivered more than 4 hours 4 hours past the target delivery date is at this level. So most, if not all of it, are beyond the 4 hours target delivery time. So which is really a burning platform for them. And as they analyzed it, it was because of the volume and the volume dictated the number of hours late. And also the end of quarter has caused the high volume. Okay, hence it has caused a bottleneck in the process. Okay, so what about the improve and control phase? So the improve and control phase lead us to practical solutions, and practical solutions must not be complex, must not be expensive also, and it must be readily implementable. So for their case, they just streamlined their process. Before, they were working with two different departments, the shipping and the billing department. Now, what they did is to streamline all of the process steps in and through the shipping department only. Plus, they have mitigated some risk, and they have piloted that solution at the East Coast warehouse. And with that, they have reaped the following. Okay, so what they have reaped were tangible results, quantifiable to the following. Oops, sorry, quantifiable to the following. So they have moved from 1.8 process sigma level to 3.4 process sigma level, which is basically recovering, 1.2 million direct cost. So that is a direct savings. And essentially, they have increased, their capability. From before, almost all of it were beyond the 4 hours limit. Now, there are still some which are beyond the 4 hours limit, but most of it are at the less than 4 hours, which is at the 30,000 DPM. That is equivalent to 3.4. I don't want to be very technical about it. That is something that some of you might want to understand by undertaking some of those trainings. So I will not go about that for now, so that I can answer some of your questions. So to culminate this webinar, let me present to you some of the application of Lean Six Sigma in the industry. So TRR Group, for those of our friends who are from Thailand in this call, you know who this organization is, the Thai Ruang Sugar Group. I hope I have spoken it correctly, right? I pronounced it correctly. So basically, the triggers behind them adopting Lean Six Sigma is that they want to standardize employee evaluation. So you see, this is not just manufacturing centric. The methodology is not just about manufacturing centric. It can be applied to different processes in the organization. And what they've done here is that they have standardized again the employee evaluation. Their results were the following. I need not go about it line by line. Obviously, these are self-intuitive, and you can read these. So they have standardized the criteria. They've established guidelines for fair compensation. They have helped plan for each employee's personal development with reliable evaluations through the undertaking of Lean Six Sigma. Of course, the details are not here, but they are publicly available as well. Tate and Lyle. So they have got a problem with regard to their Splenda, some of their measures in Splenda. But cut the long story short, they were able to hit the goal of the Lean Six Sigma project. So it turned out this was the variable associated with the feed stream. Therefore, it was the one that they have controlled. Therefore, they were able to address their one of the reasons why their Splenda has been failing the quality measures. One of them would be the particulate measure. Okay. Another example. So from a small player in Akron, Ohio, they were able to implement Lean Six Sigma even in food bank donations. So with Lean Six Sigma, Akron Canton now gets donations into into the hands of those who need it within 39 days, as opposed to whopping 92 days before. Another set of examples. I will just breeze through these. Brazil Canasul. So they have implemented lean methodology, and this methodology helped them evaluate their process. It has increased efficiency and ultimately boost their production also. Kombucha, which is manufacturing bottled juices and tea, flavored tea. They were able to basically design their processes as efficient as possible, and from eliminating steps in movement to improving transportation time of their flavor tanks by mounting wheels on them, and etc. So basically, they were able to achieve that. To show, if I've pronounced it correctly, it's a brewery in Oregon. So with lean manufacturing and Six Sigma quality systems, the brewery now has consistency, and the one small company now has big buy-ins. For the big players, Kraft Foods, okay, they have implemented the Lean Six Sigma program and has recently upped its commitment to the Lean Six Sigma program also. With Mondelez International, and these are all also publicly available. You can just Google it. So the supply chain reinvention plan basically will include the Lean Six Sigma plans to improve driving productivity. Okay, what about the one of the biggest, if not the biggest, organization with regard to food, Nestle? So a new program they called Nestle Continuous Excellence, NCE, is being implemented across all plants. It's a management system, which is a way of work that consolidates what? Lean manufacturing, TPM, Six Sigma, 5S, and other methods familiar to the followers of the TPS and other quality and productivity disciplines. So bottom line here, this is not just bounded within a certain industry, nor a certain player in an industry. This crosses silos, basically. So there are some also statistics with regard to researches that ensured that it is harmonized to what you have been required to implement, such as TACIP and HACCP. So HACCP, so based from one of the food packaging organization, global player, HACCP uses similar concepts to Lean and Six Sigma. So basically, the certification applies a team-based approach to analyze all aspects of processes, identifies and clarifies possible hazards and controls with monitoring and evaluation. So similar to that discipline, you can implement Lean Six Sigma also. Some of the researches that I have or I will be sharing to you has got the findings of basically or involves 146 companies. And basically, this is the reference to that. So the study found that lean and continuous process improvement can make a big impact in the sector, reducing costs and increasing productivity. So again, I'm not just sharing this because this is my advocacy, because I thought that would be the result of Lean Six Sigma. Researchers have shown that to be the case. Okay. Of course, I need to balance things out. What are the potential roadblocks in the food industry? So that study shown also that noted that the very structure of the food industry presents roadblocks to Lean Six Sigma adaptation. In their view, the way around these roadblocks requires business leaders to become more familiar with the potential benefits of Lean. So as you have seen in the previous slide that I presented, one of the biggest, if not the biggest roadblocks would be the buy-in of management. So for us to fully go into this methodology, management buy-in is a must. And for management to be bought in, an education or embedding session is a must. Okay. And of course, last but not the least, is to give you another key findings that, again, another set of study showed that identified readiness are management commitment and leadership, organizational culture, employee involvement, project management, and even external factors. So we must be very mindful of that. To culminate, we'll just share that to you through our final PDF file of this. So final thoughts. The beauty of Lean Six Sigma method lies in their ability to adapt to different environments, as you might have seen in my presentation. So the increased efficiency and effectiveness are tangible in the success stories of the industry giants, such as Mondelez, Kraft, Nestle, okay, even 3M. Implementing Lean Six Sigma to success. Add to the real-life Lean Six Sigma examples by introducing skilled professionals or the Lean Six Sigma infrastructure to your organization. And the last final words that I will be sharing to all of you, the enterprises usually divide their workforce depending on the hierarchy to get their employees trained in different Lean Six Sigma training programs: Yellow Belt, Green Belt, Black Belt, Master Black Belt, and Six Sigma Champion. So to get a better understanding of all of these, we encourage you to inquire through our websites to get a comprehensive understanding of the details of the courses that we are sharing to all of you through our different offices. In fact, even other services that are complementary to our training interventions, we're giving it. So in the form of coaching also, or project review. With that, I give the floor to Shu Yin. Thank you very much for your time.